Keith Johnston.
Keith Johnston is a 1971 graduate of Boston College who lettered in football 4 years and served as the team captain in 1970. He returned to his native Canada where he completed his MBA at McMaster University and played football for the Marauders. He excelled there and was chosen for the first Canadian University All-Canada football team. He has worked with oil and gas concerns for Anderson, Ernst & Young, Computer Sciences Corporation, and Landmark Graphics Corporation. His career has taken him to 32 countries and 7 continents over 28 years. Since 2009, Keith and his wife Sylvia have lived in Vernon, British Columbia. They are members of the Living Word Lutheran Church. He volunteered his time to coach for the Vernon Secondary School and is a member of the Silver Star Rotary Club. Through Rotary, Keith leads an annual youth leadership training program and organizes the Rotary Athletic Awards to recognize high school athletes from the area. He has been a Texas football official and served on 2 Episcopal vestries in Houston. Please welcome Keith Johnston, a 2018 Legend inductee.
Last year I wrote a book highlighting the careers and the lives of the 24 of us that were selected to the first All-Canada football team in 1971. Almost every member of that team highlighted the life relationships they developed by playing football. I think Bob Eccles, a 3-time All-Canadian from Carleton University, said it best when he said, "It was the camaraderie of the guys that I valued most. It was a good group of guys who hung together and became lifelong friends." Paul Kilger from the University of Ottawa said, "Most of us can't remember much of our playing days, except the fact that we were friends and those were moments we cherish. Everything else is hard to recall." Football is a vehicle for friendships, to develop friendships. But I also quite like what the quarterback for that team, Wayne Dunkley, had to say. He said, "When I look back at my football days, I think of the old adage, the older we get, the better we were." I want to start by saying how honored I am to be in front of you tonight and to receive this award, and how grateful I am for those who are responsible for my selection. I'm extremely thankful. I plan to recognize a number of people tonight, and I want to start by recognizing my mother, Jean Johnston. I think Mom's been here to more legend ceremonies than I have because she had 2 sons that participated in athletics at Austin College. And in fact, I think last year when Dee Darren and Bob Shikani found out that I was going to be inducted this year, they didn't really care whether I was going to be here, but they wanted to know if Mom was going to be here. Mom will celebrate her 95th birthday this October. My brother Ron and his wife Donna are here. Ron played 4 years of football at Austin College, and he also earned several letters in track. And he may be the only Austin College athlete that had to wait 22 years to receive his last letter jacket. You'll hear that story later. And my sister Karen Elmore is here. Karen manages the maternity ward for the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas. I'm sorry. This fall, Karen will be inducted into the University of Texas Medical Branch Nurses Hall of Fame in Galveston. I'm proud of her. I also want to recognize my other brother, Kent Strike. Kent and I went to school here at Austin College. He played a little bit of football and a whole lot of baseball. And he's been one of my lifelong friends. I'm honored tonight to have 3 of my coaches here. I'm going to start with Gene Golden, sitting at my table over here. Coach Golden coached me at Marsh Junior High and also at W.T. White High School in Dallas. Coach Golden didn't go to Austin College. He actually played baseball for 4 years at SMU back when they had a baseball team. And he graduated from SMU. But tonight, he's an honorary Brew. I can do that, can't I, David? second coach, and somebody that really needs no introduction because he's in the Hall of Honor here at Austin College, and another one of my coaches from W.T. White is Ron Murphy. And Ron Murphy played here in the late 50s and early 60s, and again, his always comes to legend, so you would probably recognize him. And last, but by no means least, my offensive line coach from Austin College, Don Newsom. All of you have seen Don Newsom on the stage many times, and many of you may not have known that he coached the offensive line at one time. 2 weeks ago, we lost Coach Clarence Warren. Coach Warren was a basketball coach at W.T. White for 25 years. And he also helped out and coached us in football for the first years that the school was built. But Coach Warren also played basketball and football here at Austin College. In fact, Coach Warren played on the same team with Slats McCord and Bob Mason. And Coach Warren is in the Hall of Honor at Austin College. Last time I saw Coach Warren was at the pub here at Austin College a few years ago at a reception. He was a great coach, an outstanding man, and we're going to miss him. I'm the third offensive lineman to be inducted from the late 1960s to be inducted in the Hall of Honor in the past 3 years. I'm preceded by Rick Page and Bob Sheffield. Rick, Bob, and I had the honor of playing on the same offensive line with George Cox, Steve Josephson, Paul Newbach, Rick Bass, Ronnie Cooper, Mark Beardsley, and Bill Davis. And Rick and I got to play with John Moore, Clay Dean, and Lee Baker. And I just want to say that Steve Josephson was the best offensive tackle I ever played beside. But Rick, Bob, and I would never have made it to this stage had we not been for the defensive linemen that beat us up every day in practice. And those defensive linemen included Jerry Foreman, Randy Miller, Steve Hayes, Dennis McIntyre, the tremendous Ted Baker, John Clendenin, and John Fain, and of course, V.B. Atchison, Mike Skinner, and Mark Berger. We also had to deal with Dee Darren and Bob Shikani and Jerry Moore. Jerry and I were co-captains our senior year at Austin College, and he flew in from Virginia to be here tonight. It's great to see you, Jerry. And the interesting thing is I think Jerry and I have talked more in the last 5 years than the whole 4 years we played together at Austin College. I'm honored to be standing in front of you tonight, but I'm also humbled by the fact that a number of my teammates, many of whom were far better athletes than me, will never have the opportunity to stand in front of you. They include Neil Crockett, Ted Baker, Ron Haygood, R.J. Haygood, John Menifee, Joe Meade, Dick Duncan, Bob Anderson, Tom Keating, and Tim Ubala. Tim pronounced his name Ubala, not Jubala or Jubella, as I've heard several times over the last many years. Ubala. In 1963, at our postseason football banquet, a lineman from the Dallas Cowboys told me and my teammates at Marsh Junior High in Dallas that the players that played beside us would be our lifelong friends. When he said that, I turned to my right to acknowledge Doug Carlson, the offensive tackle that had played beside me. And while Doug and I were high-fiving it, I got a tap on my left shoulder. That tap came from Bill Worley. Bill was a center that played on the other side of me. And Bill and I have been lifelong friends. And he and his wife, Carol, are here tonight. But you know, in 1963, an interesting year, is the last year that Bill and I played beside each other. Because the next year they discovered that Bill could propel the ball forward just as well as he could backwards, so they moved him to quarterback. And that was the position he played for the rest of his high school career. Rick, why didn't they ever do that for you? I tell people that I've been on the football field for more than 55 years. Between my playing days my coaching days, my sports photography, in the 27 years I've spent officiating high school football in Texas and in England. 10 of those 27 years were spent with 4 men who are here tonight representing the Bruce Group. They were the Bruce Group because our referee was Johnny Bruce and our back judge was Jimmy Bruce. I figured that in the 10 years we officiated together, we probably officiated about 150 ball games and didn't blow a single call. And VB, I don't want to hear a word out of you. But there were a few times that the coaches got upset with us and started yelling. Like the time that Jimmy penalized a player for running off the field and kissing a cheerleader after he scored a touchdown. And then, of course, there was a time in Galveston when we were officiating Galveston ball. And the Galveston ball high school coach got very upset because Mike Pickle, our umpire, wasn't calling holding. And he told me, he said, I've got an All-American defensive tackle in there, and that guy is not calling holding, they're holding one under play. So I went in to report to Mike what the coach had said. Mike and I got quite a giggle out of the fact that the coach thought his defensive tackle was All-American. And Hardy, you probably know the man. The young man was Casey Hampton, who went on to be an All-American at the University of Texas and played for 13 years with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But there was no holding that night, was there, Mike? David Maddox, our head linesman, kept us all in line. He drove us to most of the football games, and it was his responsibility to find a Dairy Queen before every game, because that was our pregame warm-up. And David, I know you already know this, but the closest Dairy Queen to here is 2002 East Lamar, which is just about 3 or 4 blocks from here. I was accused on a few occasions of taking the fun out of football. And as for Johnny was always a little hard of hearing. And so when the coaches started yelling on the sideline, he'd ask Mike, he said, what are they saying? And Mike would just say, they tell him you're doing a good job, Johnny. I had to invite these 4 men here tonight and their wives because it seems like every game we officiated in Texas, we run into an Austin College alum. We ran into so many AC alums that Mike Pickle used to say, how big is Austin College? And he even suggested at one time that we change our mascot to the Rabbits because there are so many of us. And Mike, I tried to arrange for some West Side Story music tonight, but the Fighting Kangaroo Band wasn't available this weekend. I want to also thank Jean, Sharon, Tammy, and Rhonda for allowing their husbands to celebrate this weekend with me. One of my favorite Austin College stories just happened last year. And it involved James Kovaleski, or as his teammates in Austin College used to call him Q, because they couldn't pronounce or spell Kovaleski. I first met James in 2002 when he was entering Austin College at an incoming freshman reception in Houston. Because of football, we connected immediately and have stayed connected over the years. And James is here tonight. James and I, we stayed connected in 2014. Both the teams I was coaching in British Columbia and the team that he was coaching in Texas were in the playoffs. So we were sending emails to us every week, and I was asking for a lot of help on the defensive line because I was coaching the defensive line and I never played defense. I was always on the offensive side of the ball. But last year, James got hold of me and he said that his career had hit a rut. That he'd gone out of coaching and he'd gone into sales, but he was finding that sales was very depressing. And so he asked if there's anything I could do to help. Well, I introduced James to a former football coach in Houston named Marshall Law. And Marshall had left coaching a few years earlier and he'd gone to work for Johnston's, and I heard he was doing quite well. So I arranged a meeting between the two of them, and Marshall offered James a job the day he met him. Now the cool part of the story is that I met Marshall Law through a 1961 Austin College football player named Don Taylor. And Don and I have been friends, best friends, for many, many years. And Don would be here tonight if he were alive. I'm going to wrap up with one more story. Like a lot of your parents, my parents came to all the home games at Austin College. And they came to a few away games too. Dad and my brother Ron surprised me up in Nebraska one time when I wasn't expecting them. And my mother and dad showed up in Windsor, Ontario one time to see me play when I was going for the Marauders up there. But the first football game I played in Austin College, after we scored a touchdown, I was running off the field and I was looking up in the stands to try to find my dad. Dad used to always like to sit on the 50-yard line about as high up in the stands as he could get. And on that particular day, he noticed that I was looking up in the stands, so he stood up and he gave me the hook and horn sign, which is a throwback to my days playing for the WT White Longhorns in Dallas. And I returned that sign. And that started a tradition between my dad and I. After every touchdown he witnessed during my playing days for the rest of my career, we would do that. So as I walk off the stage tonight, one more time, Dad.